Douglas, what are you doing? Come on, Douglas, what are you doing? In this episode of Crossing the Kennebec Part 2, we're going to talk about all the things I've done to start getting this whole area scenic and done up. One of the first things I had to do was build this bridge structure here that was going to support the two deck girder bridges. And we'll talk about that later here when I actually go into the videos of showing where it goes in. Here you can see the structure that I was attempting to simulate, and I came pretty close. Obviously I didn't have all the everything exactly the same, but again, I'm just looking for something that looks close enough that people will recognize it. So I'm using Central Valley and then evergreen plastic to build this. The through girder bridge needed some footers on the end of it that goes next to the deck girder section this is added in here. Again, evergreen and some Central Valley parts that I've customized to fit. Here I'm showing you what I've constructed on a model and what the actual bridge abutment looks like with that section up on top there that it fits onto. Okay, the Kennebec crossing, we're now starting to get better into the design and fixturing of the through girder bridge. It's all been painted now. I've got the support brackets for that side, extensions here. I've got the deck girders, and I made this scratch built fixture for it, and unfortunately I think I did a poor job of measuring. I've made it too wide and too tall. So back to the drawing board on that. Block walls or cast concrete walls here. What I'm doing here is I'm taking 40 thousandths or 60 thousandths sheet styrene. I'm cutting it to the shape of where the wall will be, and you'll see this down in Augusta here a little later on, but I've got the 3 sheets here. This right here is the part that goes underneath the Water Street Bridge. Then we have the next section here, which is going past the Water Street Bridge, and then it hits an angle in the wall, and then we have the last section of the wall right here that will butt up against that and be at about a 20-degree angle. But anyway, I cut it out of the sheet, and then I cut the, if you ever look at concrete walls, they got former marks. So I go in here and I put former marks by scribing lines in here. And then the last thing I do is I roughen up the surface with a sanding stick to get the concrete paint when I put it on there to seal better or stick better to the plastic. So the paint I'm going to use, and I don't have it here right now, but there's the Krylon or Rust-Oleum, they both make it, is camouflage color. So they come in a color that's brown, an almond color, and a really dark green, and they're all very, very flat. Well, I use the almond color for putting the basic concrete wall spray on here because it looks like, you know, aged concrete. If you look at the old Model Master paints, aged concrete, well, that color of that camouflage paint's the same color. So I found a substitute for this because nobody makes Model Master anymore. The one thing I didn't tell you about is I make this upper portion of the wall. I use angle number 293 from Evergreen Models is the actual block barrier for the upper part of the wall, which is glued on here. So here we have the actual pieces back in place I just showed you upstairs at the workbench. And this is the completion of the concrete block wall, or the cast concrete wall that is in Augusta. Here's sections of it that are already finished. So after doing the concrete color, I'll come back with chalks and put the black mold, whatever it is that grows on concrete walls when they sit there for a long period of time. I'm going to finish this other abutment on this side for the bridge, and then I'll actually build the bridge in place. So this is the Rust-Oleum color. It's called khaki, and it looks like the part number is 279177, a very good match for aged concrete. As I was starting to put together the video for Crossing the Kennebec Part 2, I realized that there's a lot more to this than just actually building the bridges, because I'm also finishing up the scenery in Augusta. And so I've already showed you how I built these concrete walls, and then here we are seeing them installed. The road's been painted. It still needs to be weathered. I've started adding some ground foliage. There's a bunch of trees that'll go up in here. I'm going to find some kind of a photo backdrop to put in there for the street going up the hill. I've also come in here and I've installed the bridge abutment partially. I still need to do some finish up work there. I have ballasted the track.
I put the basic ground foam on the hillside going up Water Street. I've taken and 3D'd the photographic buildings. These two are permanently installed the way they are now. I still got to do some work at the bottom there where it meets the road there. Put a foundation in there. You see I've balanced it all the way up. We've got the rock walls on the incline as it goes up here. Again, some more foundation work at the bottom there that I'm going to do. And I've got the basic locations of all the buildings that go down in front here. Some are actually inset into the foundation for them. I'm still going to paint that parking lot. I'm going to do the roadways, railings, and the actual bridge itself that goes across here. I've got all the parts for that, but it's going to be built of plastic and installed. There's going to be a sidewalk going all the way up here down this right side of the road. It'll meet down here with this sidewalk. Here's the corner area where I have never seen it, that is now got a couple of buildings added. The DPM building that I've been working on there that I showed you earlier in the video and on the previous video. This is that ITLA laser cut wood kit, a really cool structure. I was had a pretty good time building that and weathering it. I've got the sidewalks in here and the first part of the bridge support structure as it goes across. I've added in the road bed for the abandoned main line. There'll be trees on this little hill lump here. I still have to ballast all that track back there, but I've just put the buildings in, so that'll get done here shortly. And I won't ballast most of this track on the main line until I actually get the whole bridge section in. And of course, in the previous portion of this video, I talked about the fact that the support for the deck girders right there is too high. I've got to rebuild that. So I've moved on because I'm so frustrated that I screwed that up. So this building back here will become the Kennebec Journal. I'm going to 3D this building, put it on some foam board for the backing, and then I'm going to actually build. It has a loading dock that's there, but I'm actually going to build a loading dock to go in there and a canopy cover over there that's going to actually come out from the building, from the wall. So that'll give it a little more depth. I've got some of the stuff for the scrapyard that's going to be right here. And this area right here is actually going to have a backdrop piece in here eventually, so that you'll see a scrapyard and a crane and stuff like that on the backdrop. I want to actually have it in, physical form. There's a Kennebec Beverages is going to be the other part of this siding. I'm going to actually scratch build that building because I actually have a picture that shows what it looks like, so I want to match that. And then of course I'm going to take all the structures and reinstall them over in Augusta.
So I've talked about this ITLA kit, which is Imagine That laser art, and if you know me, I'm not a big fan of wood kits, stuff like that. I've always worked with plastic from a very young age, so I'm comfortable with it. So this is a little going out on its own, but I was really impressed with the kit. It goes together very well. It's got a lot of detail in it. I can't remember what it cost. I think it was actually an expensive kit, but when you start looking at plastic and building up something of this size, by the time you get all the fittings bought and all the plastic bought and stuff like that, it becomes quite expensive no matter what. As a matter of fact, I have done some comparisons of building in plastic versus buying a plastic kit or Walther's kit, and in the end, the cost is about the same whether I scratch build it or whether I build a kit or take a kit that's already pre-manufactured. I always thought the Walther's kits were way out there price-wise, but if it's based on the price of the plastic, they're pretty equivalent to what it takes to build one from scratch. And then here I'm showing you some details of the bridge that I've been working on. So I've been using Central Valley parts and obviously evergreen shapes and flat sheet. And the Plastrut parts that I showed you at the beginning of the video, or the beginning of this section.
So we're nearing the completion of the bridge building here. And if you remember last time I showed you this, that a couple of things going wrong with these. They're too long by a hair. Actually, they're just right. But the actual piece that holds it up right there is too high, so I'll have to adjust that, which is this piece right here that I made about 1/8 of an inch too tall. But this I just finished doing all the construction on, and it has looking pretty good. Just needs to be painted now. It fits in the where it's supposed to there. You can see there's just a little bit of a clearance on each side here. And again, right there, you can see there's enough clearance there that when I lift this section out right here, it'll be able to pop out. So what I'll do is I'll lay the track across here once I get all the bridge sections in and in place, and I'll lay one single piece of this bridge trackage, which I have down here, on one side, and then the other side I'll have the empty trackage. And once I get it all laid in there and soldered up for all the joints, I've got to run a wire down underneath here to use for powering the track on the bridge. There's the leads for the track going up to the bridge. I've got to lay that section of track across here, tie it down to the copper ties, lay it across the bridge, and then lay it up to that point over there after fixing this deck bridge section here.
So this is the point where I'm going to stop this video. I've done a lot of work over the last 2 weeks, working trying to get the bridge built right. I've still got to go back and remake that one section, but I think the next, I'm going to stop the video right here because you can see where I'm at. Then I'll start compiling the final part of this video where I'll actually set the bridges in place, put all the track down, go through how I lay the track in there, solder the ties, bases, and put that in the final version of it. Anyway, bye for now from Main Central Lower Road, and we'll talk to you guys later.